Hi, it's Friday afternoon and you're welcome to the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Carr. This is the primer you need for another weekend of great Premier League action, and what a weekend it presents itself to be. The big one will be at Old Trafford on Sunday. We'll talk about that later. The Manchester derby is upon us, the first one of the season. Now, if you have anything to tell us, you can send us your thoughts and comments, questions, opinions, anything on the WhatsApp number right on your screen. And we'll go through as many of your comments as possible before the show comes to an end in about an hour. So thank you so much for joining us, and trust me, it will be a fun ride between now and the next hour or so. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. We'll take a very, very quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guests and we start rolling. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Let me introduce my guests making their return to the starting 11s, Yao Frimpong and Emmanuel Buduano. Guys, how are we doing?
Doing great.
All right.
I'm loving life.
Yeah, loving life. I like that. I like that. Let's have a look at the fixtures for match week 10 of the Premier League. It promises to be fun. Sorry. Match week 10 of the Premier League. There you have it. Spurs will travel to Crystal Palace in the first game of the round. It's happening tonight, actually, at Selhurst Park. So Spurs are going from North London to South London to go and play. On Saturday, Chelsea, Brentford, Arsenal, Sheffield, Bournemouth will welcome Burnley, and Wolves who take on Newcastle, who have a few issues on their hands. We'll talk about them a little later. On Sunday, West Ham will face Everton, and then Aston Villa will take on Luton, and Brighton will welcome Fulham. Liverpool will take on Nottingham Forest, and the biggest one of them all, it is Manchester United at home to the defending champions and rivals, Manchester City. It's the first Manchester derby of the season in the Premier League. Wow, what a time it is to be alive, to enjoy this. We'll talk about that extensively a little later in the show. But we'll begin with Chelsea. Now, Chelsea are taking on Brentford. They've had troubling times in the league. They've not really enjoyed themselves. Last weekend, they took a 2-goal lead against Arsenal. They were hoping to win. It did not happen. But they won't have to take on Brentford, who themselves are very stubborn to take on, very stubborn to break down. Ask Manchester United. They'll tell you all about that. But before we get into all the talk, let's have a look at Chelsea's last tie in the Premier League. They took on Arsenal in that very exciting game at Stamford Bridge from last weekend. All right, so that was Chelsea's last outing in the Premier League. It was a 2-2 draw between themselves and Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. Yeah, let me start off with you. I don't know whether hours after that game or maybe the next day, Mauricio Pochettino would be a happy man or a sad man. But Chelsea have had to show different sides of themselves this season. And they take on another very tricky team, Brentford. We saw what they did at Old Trafford, almost stolen when it didn't happen. But what kind of mindset do you think Chelsea will be in as they get ready to play yet again in the league?
I think it's more of looking at the fact that they just played, the team that went toe-to-toe with City, and they dominated them for phases of the game, and they had a game plan which worked. Mm-hmm. I think Pochettino is getting to know more about his team, so now he's moving away from a three-back system. He's playing a flat four, and that helps him in terms of his build-up. In terms of the outputs for his forward line, it's not great. The return isn't great. He's not got a number 9. And Brentford, they leak a goal or two, and they've been all over the place this season. Okay. So this game is the kind of game you want to make a statement that, okay, this is a result we should be getting. It's at home. He needs to go in with an intention of winning it maximum points. You want to find a way to neutralize the Brentford attack through Wisa and Mbeumo. Once he's able to do that, I think that's pretty much Brentford done for the day. So Pochettino needs to figure out how he's going to go about that.
Great. Emmanuel, we saw Chelsea. Saw how they took a 2-goal lead. They threw the goals away. Arsenal got a point. Do you think that they will be upset by that performance? And as Pochettino thinks about Brentford, what do you think he will demand from his players, hoping that they will not repeat the mistakes they made against Arsenal?
Yeah, I think for Chelsea, it's actually been a recurring theme throughout, since the beginning of the season. you could see that in a lot of games, they've actually performed, like they've created a lot of chances. They were supposed to get like lots. When you look at their XG, I mean, it's among the top 3 in the league at the moment, but the returns are not really being seen, you know. So I think going into this game in particular, I mean, the results from the Arsenal game was quite unfortunate because it was just at the latter part of the game that they decided to bottle the whole thing. But you would feel that they should be confident going into this game. They should use the boost that the results give. I mean, nobody was. I for one, I wasn't really expecting them to perform against Arsenal, knowing what Arsenal has been able to like do for most parts of the season and then what they did last season and all. But I think it's a very good morale booster for Chelsea. They can build on it and then try to hit Brentford on Sunday. Sorry.
Okay, guys, let's talk a bit about Brentford. We saw, I think they got their first home win last weekend, so just tells us where they are. They almost stole a win at Old Trafford, like I said. How do you think Thomas Frank should approach this game? Yeah, looking at their own issues, there's no Ivan Toney, they've had to readapt. The loss at United, I'm sure, still hurts them today. But they got a home win last weekend. So what do you think Thomas Frank should do if he really wants to get something out of this game?
Well, if he was unable to get a win against Burnley, then I'll be concerned because they are probably one of the most open teams in the league in terms of defensive play. You can go right through them. The opportunities will give you a chance to attack them. So coming to Chelsea, the mindset really should be, how do I get the best out of my key men, which is Mbeumo and Wissa. He has to find a system. We've seen that most of this season, Mbeumo has been on the right, sometimes even a wing back, and that's a bit of a problem for them. He needs to be closer to the forward line. And when they had Ivan Toney, what that meant was Toney hold up play, but he also offers something different. And they need to try and model a system that would bring the best out of Mbeumo, because Mbeumo creates. He's either creating or he's finishing off a move. So himself and Wissa would be the one to break lines in terms of just going ahead of the defense. So Mbeumo has to find him. Mbeumo, Janssen, they have to find him. And those are the things that will be important. But they just need to ensure Gallagher, Cole Palmer, whoever is playing in behind the main number 9. I don't know if Jackson will play or it will be Raheem Sterling, but they need to find a way to stop that player from playing. If they can do that, I don't think Caicedo or Enzo Fernandez would offer too much in terms of progressing the ball forward. You want to stop the one that can receive the ball from getting the ball and then force them to go long. And then Pinnock, Ben Mee, they could sweep up and then start off the attacks for them.
Great. Emmanuel, just finally on Brentford, they have a very bad habit, and we've seen a lot of it. They can't hold on to leads. They take a lead, surely every team is coming back. What does Thomas Frank do, knowing that Chelsea themselves threw away a 2-goal lead last week? How does he ensure that should they take the lead in this game, they close the doors and Chelsea don't find a way back?
Yeah, I think the issue for Chelsea, like previously, was because they couldn't really finish, right? But this time around, I think they are hitting their strides and then they are getting the goals now. So if you go to them and then you open up more for them, chances are they would get 2 or 3. It wouldn't even be 1. It would be more than that. So I would, approaching this game, it would only be right for them to be a bit compact and then not allow, I mean, we've seen the impact of Cole Palmer since he arrived. I mean, finding the spaces and then also putting in very good passes and taking on defenders and all that. But if you go up against Chelsea, exposing your back line to players of his caliber and also like Mudryk also performing and all that, chances are, once again, Chelsea will find a way to score. So he just has to be a bit compact at the back. They have a very good record in the London derbies. I mean, they've not lost the last 12 actually. So they've won 6 and then they've actually drawn 6 as well. So I think they just have to be a bit compact at the back and then, like Yao rightly said, find Mbeumo, let him do what he does best. Don't put him at the back. The wing back, it wouldn't really help them. He has to be up front. He has to try and then link up with Wissa, and then we'll see what will come out of that.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. Chelsea versus Brentford, London derby. Yeah, not of a sort. It's a proper London derby involving those 2 games. All right, let's move on. Let's get to Liverpool. They welcome Nottingham Forest to Anfield over the weekend. Liverpool's last game in the league was the Merseyside derby against Everton at Anfield. Let's see how that game played out. All right, it was Derby Day delight for Liverpool as they beat Everton by 2-0. Emmanuel, teams go to Anfield and we all know what almost always happens. They are going to get beaten. Everton, we know the derby is a bridge too far for them. How do Forest handle this? Because not a lot of teams survive at Anfield. How do they survive this one?
Go on your knees and pray. Yeah, because I mean, it's not as if Liverpool would just allow you to walk in there and then take anything from them. I mean, that's their fortress. At some seasons back, you would go there, you just, once again, you go there, you go on your knees and then you pray, because chances are the minimum you take there will be 3 or 4, you know. And going into this game, I feel they've really like started. For one, I feel they've started okay. They are still gradually like getting into their strides, and they are still rebuilding anyway. Mm-hmm. But they've shown that they have what it takes to compete for the title this season. So going in there, I think what Nottingham Forest can do is they should just be, if you defend, they will find a way to score. You might even end up committing and then you give them a penalty, you know, because they'll be coming at you, you know. Just try to play what you know like best, right? Just do your best, and then like hope that Salah and Co wouldn't be able to punish you for playing your best.
That's almost like it's nigh on impossible. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, on a real, Nottingham Forest do have issues. I think Taiwo Awoniyi has been injured for a while. I don't know how ready he will be. Because if he's not playing, then it means that they will have problems scoring if they'll even create anything.
They need to focus on the set pieces. That's what it is. As to if they'll get any is another one. But if they could get corners in there, Liverpool are a bit liable or shaky when it comes to defending set pieces. So you need to find a way to get Chris Wood at the end of the ball, because we know he's good in the air. Yeah, he puts himself about when he's in the forward line. They could also probably find a situation where, this might be unpopular, but stick someone on Szoboszlai. Just ensure he's not playing, because he actually gets Liverpool going now. He's probably one of the most important people in terms of getting the ball from defence or from McAllister and spreading it out to the fullbacks. So find a way to stop him from playing. Then you still have to deal with McAllister. So the forward must probably drop. Chris Wood, he doesn't have to be so high. The press has to be mid-block or even low block. If they decide to press high, Liverpool beat the press very, very easily and simply. And then with that, they also have to look at probably a way to get Trent worried. So Elanga has to start.
Wow.
Elanga
but can Steve Cooper get 90 minutes out of Elanga, and will he be consistent across 90 minutes?
At least you get a first 60, and in those 60, you hope you're still in the game. It's a goal, or it's not no goal so far. Then you can introduce another player, mix it up a bit. And even with now, you realize Forest have a bit more experience in the back line. World Cup winner, what's his name? The right back. Yes, Montiel. Yeah. Exactly. Him at right back means that Tsimikas might have a very different game from what we're expecting. So he has to show his maturity, as well as show the fact that it's a new league for him, but he's definitely settling, and he needs to find a way to show maturity on Sunday, and that might work for Forest.
All right, let's talk a bit about Liverpool. We saw them change the squad a bit in the Europa League game. There's this question over who plays as a 6. If you're a club, who would you pick tomorrow? Would you stick with Endo, or you go back to McAllister, looking at the opposition?
I think I would stick with McAllister. Okay. I mean, in there, because I mean, he's sort of like giving them the stability that they've been looking for a while. I mean, Endo is a very good addition anyway. We saw, I mean, he didn't really perform well in the first game, but I mean, subsequently he has been able to prove himself. And for McAllister, you have the assurance that, I mean, even going forward and then coming back in defending, right? He has your back all the time. And then this also gives Szoboszlai the freedom that he also needs to operate in the spaces and then be able to dispatch the passes well and then take on players and all that. So I think I would rather go with McAllister. Nottingham shouldn't really be much of a problem. That's how I see it to be. And just go with the people that you really trust. so that you get the results and then you come home with the 3 points.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest. That's like very classic throwback Premier League game at Anfield. We'll see how it will break down over the weekend when Liverpool host that tie. All right, let's move on to the biggest game of the round, and it's the first Manchester derby at Old Trafford. It's Manchester United versus Manchester City. Manchester City defending Premier League champions. They currently hold the treble that only Man United used to have. Now Manchester City also have their own version of the treble. Now let's see how the two teams have been getting ready for this game. Let's start off with Manchester United's away tie at Sheffield, and then we'll give you Manchester City's home game against Brighton. All of that from the last round of the Premier League. All right, so Manchester United and Manchester City both winning by 2-1. United won at Sheffield and Manchester City beat Brighton at the Etihad. Guys, it's if for those on the red side of Manchester, this game will not be fun. It will be very difficult. They've had to endure a very rough start to the season, and they are getting a huge test at Old Trafford in a week where they've had to mourn the passing of Sir Bobby Charlton. Manchester United come up against Manchester City. Yeah. You can only sigh.
I can only sigh for I'm worried for Ten Hag's future. I mentioned earlier in the season that December might be far, but he might not make it to January.
Wow.
And it's because his performances haven't been brilliant. The team seems to have retrogressed, and it's a poor time to be facing City, where you've scraped by in your last 3 or 4 games, and it's all individual brilliance, and you get a goal, and then yay. But as to how you're playing, that's been poor. And you're going up against a team that has enjoyed a 53% win record at Old Trafford since this manager arrived.
Oh, wow.
So that's also another concerning statistic, because then it means that, well, pretty much the ball's in their courts. They're just playing away from home, but they're home. For Man United, there's so many things United have to deal with the City build-up. We all talk about this inverted right back. It's like half back is Mezzala. You can't really, you don't know how to term it, but United need to find a way to deal with that. And they also have that little issue of they don't know how to score.
I see.
They're being built out by defenders, defensive midfielders. And if United don't take care, this might be one of the games where they play, but they don't score. They might have a decent game, and it will be, oh, it was so close, but the scoreline says 4-0. So United really need to do their homework. We saw in the little highlights from Doku, he drives to the byline, cuts it back to the edge of the box.
That's a typical Pep Guardiola goal ever since he came to the Premier League.
Byline.
I'm just saying, I've scored like 1 million.
Yeah,
from that.
And that's when we saw the best output for Sterling, because he's just waiting. Someone does the hard work. He just taps it in. Alvarez is cut in that mode, in the sense that he arrives late, or he's the one actually starting the attack, and then he ends the move, or he's assisting someone just from receiving the ball on in the box and passing it on. So United need to deal with that. And if it's Dalot that has to deal with Doku, then United, you know that there's a problem. Because Wan-Bissaka is just back from an injury. I don't think he can start. And that's one problem on that side. On the other side, you have to worry about Phil Foden, Silva, Kyle Walker, and we even forgot that there's Haaland. So United really, they have a lot of work to do to salvage something from this.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, I'll take him out of stores. We'll try and dissect the game and figure out strengths and weaknesses of either side, and possibly where this game could be won. This is still the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. My guests are Emmanuel Budu Ano and Yao Frimpong. Emmanuel, so you've heard it. Yao says Manchester United have got problems, several problems, their own problems, and the problems that Manchester City will throw at them. Let's talk about the problems City are likely to throw at Man United? What weapons do they have, and how can they hurt Manchester United on Sunday?
I think for one, I fear for the back line of United, the full backs especially, because I mean, let's start from the centre backs. I think when it comes to big games, right? Haaland hasn't really imposed himself yet since coming to the Premier League. More often than not,
away from home. Because at home, yes, at home he has scored. He has scored some of the biggest games.
So I think maybe United will pray that version of Haaland will show up tomorrow, on Sunday. Sorry, else it's trouble. Trouble in the sense that you have Lisandro Martinez, who was basically your best defender last season, out with an injury. Varane is now returning. I think the only person that you can really rely on to sort of put together a very good performance for you will be Harry Maguire. I mean, for the last 2-3
Capito.
games,
champion.
For the last 2-3 games, he has been very impressive. I mean, he has impressed, and then he has rightly earned his position in the back line. But
on a lighter note, I kind of wonder. Look, penny for the thoughts of Erik ten Hag. I really wonder what Ten Hag must be thinking that
he has to apologize.
He has to apologize, but he may apologize in private.
Yeah. Then we'll hear from the United League.
All right. Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, Maguire having to handle Haaland, it will quite be a one to look out for. And I hope that for his sake, and then for the sake of not getting abused and his family getting abused, he would put together a very good performance, and then maybe if anything happens at all, it shouldn't be his fault, just for his sake. But I feel on a more serious note, they have a very thin squad to even pick out their best 11 from. I mean, injuries have really hampered their progress this season. The backline especially, like I said, you have Doku to deal with, like you rightly said. I mean, the guy is very agile. Like when he gets on the ball, he drives inside. He can go either ways. He can, just make something out of nothing. That's what, side note, that's what we, I see in Kamaldeen Suleiman. But I mean, that's also a debate for another day. But the end product is not there yet. But you can see that Doku has that substance. Like, he can offer you more. And that's what Pep also see. When he arrived, Pep was now he has a winger. He has somebody that can really call a winger.
Talk about that, look. When you watch Doku, and I watch a lot of French football, the biggest complaint in France about Doku was his output, because the skill is apparent, the pace is apparent. Yeah. It's just what to do with it. But all of a sudden, he seems to have quickly picked up the ability. I guess it's coaching.
Thank you.
Coaching.
So, because Pep has found the end product very quickly.
That's right. So I think that's been more or less evident in most of the games he's played in the league so far. Having to deal with Walker also coming at you, that's also another problem in itself. I mean, you look at the United backline and you wonder how exactly are they going to contain these people. You have Alvarez also arriving late, finding the spaces, moving into Bernardo Silva. That's a difference. Wow. So I think it will be very difficult. It will be extremely difficult for United to get something out of the game, in as much as they are playing at home. But their game plan, what is their game plan? How is the approach going to be? A whole lot, I see. But I feel if you are able to sort of take their chances this time around, because
that is if they get any.
Yes, they get any in the first place. Take their chances. The few that they will get, I think maybe they can end up getting a goal too. But I see City winning the game.
I see. Ten Hag has had. I'm sure he's had a nightmare of a week. Really, you beat Copenhagen, then you have to play Manchester. You can't forfeit the game. You can't forfeit the fixture. You can't avoid. Does Erik ten Hag's team have a chance? And if they do have a chance, how can they survive in this game?
Chance. United can play decently. They could pose a threat because, to be honest, City haven't been great this season. They are still trying to find their mojo. They're still trying to gel. And we know that's how they start. By December, they figure it out and then they run with the league. So it's about Ten Hag really looking at this game and saying, I don't want to lose by 4 or 5 goals. I want to be in the game. So he might want to start Amrabat in the middle. Okay. His backline, Maguire has to start.
He doesn't have a choice.
He's been his best centre-back. And Varane as well, because he's back, he's fit. Those are the only options. It's Lindelof, but you'd want to have Lindelof come off for the bench because...
Not start.
Yeah, because Reguilon can't finish the game. He's just coming back from an injury. On the right side, I'm a bit concerned about Dalot because defensively, he's all over the place. Going forward, he offers so much and he joins the midfield. He can do all of that, but this is a game for Wan-Bissaka. You need someone that can silence Doku in a good way. He can ensure clean tackles and just man-mark him when he has to in the defensive phase. And then in the middle, Amrabat needs someone, United needs someone who can actually pass. And this...
But this week, after the Copenhagen game, the debate that has come up is this. There's a general understanding that Eriksen is probably the most gifted midfielder United have, but he's on the wrong side of 30. He can't give you 90 minutes. So what does Ten Hag do?
So you're starting Eriksen because you want to...
Won't he get outworked?
No, because you're starting him because you want to start the game right. You want those balls into the right areas. Find Rashford, find Anthony, find Højlund, and then you get your goal.
I'd rather not find Anthony.
But that's United's only option. It's either that or McTominay could start as well. We see something similar to what happened with Copenhagen, where it's McTominay and Amrabat, and after a while you bring Eriksen because you know he can give the passes. But then what that happens is your defensive unit or the build-up play is very, very retarded because now United cannot build up from the back as they want to, where centre-back gives to midfielder. Now they'll have to go long because McTominay never shows for ball. Amrabat might want the ball, but then who is he going to give it to? So then that's the challenge.
He could easily get trapped.
And I actually think Pep will trigger the press on him because they know that's the only outlet the defendants would have. So as soon as he gets the ball, Bernardo Silva or Alvarez or Foden, whoever's in the middle, will force him into turning over the ball, and immediately they spring into counter-attack, hit United a quick goal, and United have to run back into their game, try and find a way. So United need to ensure that as much as they want to play from the back, they can't. They can't risk it. They need to go long, and that means that going long, Onana has to find the wide players. He has to find Rashford, Anthony, and they have to do something with the ball.
Wow.
If they don't do that, United will be found.
I see. Final questions on this one before we get into the debate, Emmanuel. So, first one, is this game a free pass for Ten Hag? Looking at everything that has happened, injuries, the poor start, and should United get roasted in this game? Should Ten Hag be critical? Should people look at it and say, you know what, they were going to lose anyway, they've lost, let's move on? Or should they lose this game? Should people now turn the heat on Ten Hag and say, this is the lowest your team can hit?
I think he still deserves some grace, you know. I don't know if we can fault him for the players getting injured and then like some of the... I mean, he's culpable for some of the things that have happened, you know. And his decision-making, I mean, the subs and stuff that is starting lineup and some players not performing and then also putting them in like lineups and all. It's been a whole lot. But I feel this City game shouldn't really be the metric to sort of like judge his season yet, you know, because there are other games that would come up for him to prove himself. Okay. I don't really see him getting anything out of this game anyway. But I feel this shouldn't be the game that would more or less like make or break his year, you know. So they just have to allow him to play. If they get a good result, great. If not, they can build on it and hope that they'll have some players back. Because I learned maybe getting to the first and second week of November, most of the guys will be back in the squad. So maybe from there onwards, he can really mount a very good charge and then try to get very good results and then enter December with in high spirits. Okay. Because the league is not like it hasn't been won yet, you know. Teams they are in as much as they've really started poorly, they are still like about 6 points behind City. That's something that you can work with. But I don't really expect them to get anything out of this game.
So it's like a free hit. Yeah, it's free hit, right?
No, I think United have standards, and losing to City is not one of them.
So losing is not an option.
Losing
but in
is
this
not an
case,
option.
they could lose. So now, how should they lose?
They need to ensure it's a decent performance. It's at home. United.
So for you, the performance. And what are you looking for? Something tactical or something passionate?
Seeing something tactical and seeing that the players actually want to play for the manager and for themselves, for their own hard-earned reputations. If they don't approach it that way, and you can see Rashford loses the ball, walking off, then we have a problem.
Okay, all right. Let's have a look at some numbers in terms of the head-to-head between the two teams and how they look on the statistical side of things. Yeah, if you look here, so the history really is that they've played 52 games. Man United have won 25. Manchester City have won 18, and there are 9 draws. My suspicion is that a lot of Man City's 18 wins have come very recently. Let's say from about 2015, thereabouts. While a lot of Man United's 25 wins were from like 1990. And started decreasing as the years went by. So those are the numbers. 9 draws, but this game has always given us goals, whether at the Etihad or at Old Trafford, and I'm sure we'll see that. Anyway, that's how the two teams look like in terms of the numbers. The game is on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. 3:30 p.m. The first Manchester derby at Old Trafford. And we wish Manchester United the very best. It will be a long afternoon. All right, let's have a look at their season numbers quickly before we move on to the debate. So this is how they look like in terms of what they've done this season. United are 8th, 5 wins, no draw. That's a very interesting thing. No draws for Man United this season. And 4 losses, a goal difference of -2. City are second, 7 wins, no draws either. So they are winning or losing. They've lost 2 and a goal difference of +12. So you can clearly see the team that is coming into this in better form and in better shape. All right, let's move on to the next part of our show. Let's get into the debate. All right, welcome to the debate. This is still the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Today, we are at Old Trafford. We are at Man United. We're asking a question. Has Harry Maguire earned a place or a starting place under Eric Ten Hag? Has he earned it? Has he earned it? Has he played his way back into, into the team as part of Eric Ten Hag's setup? Guys, has he earned it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. You look at all that's happening around the club. You look at Jadon Sancho's issue and how he's reacted to it. You don't like something a manager said, but you come out to respond what's not. Harry Maguire's just been professional. United tried to get rid of him, and even then, he still found a way to stay. He didn't move. He was club captain, which was, I think that's quite a high honor for a player. And one key thing is he still gets called up for England, even when he wasn't playing. And when he goes for England, plays 90 minutes and delivers, he's actually hardly putting a foot wrong when he's playing for England. Systems are different.
Okay, I was about to.
Systems are different, but then you can tell he can play in the system. And you can see from when Ten Hag has used him, United are trying to hold on to a win. They bottom on, and he's there. He's stabilizing the defense. 3 at the back works for him. So that, I'm sure Ten Hag knows that that's the best system to play him in. But then he doesn't have the players to actually play all around. So he still has to make time on the bench. But as soon as someone's going injured, which was Martinez, you look through the squad, and it was Lindelof that got the nod. But then after a while, Lindelof started looking shaky, and then Maguire comes in, and he's actually been United's best player in the last 4 games.
Okay, all right.
That's testament to his and his role in the squad now. Role.
Wow, Emmanuel, when everything gets stabilized, players are back, and Ten Hag has the entire dressing room available, do you think Harry Maguire has made an argument strong enough for Eric Ten Hag to look at the defenders and say, I'm picking Maguire and somebody else?
I think it will boil down to the manager's ideas and then the sort of system that he would want to continue with, because with Martinez out with an injury, it means that he had to adapt and then re-strategize and then come, like, present something different from what he wanted to do, you know. And if they are back, will he want to go back to what he want, like he started, or would he want to stick like with what is going on now, you know? I think that would be for him to decide then. But I feel in the interim, I think Maguire has really like proved himself worthy of being included in a starting lineup. Like you rightly said, Lindelof was giving the nod at a point, and then we saw him like go down he just became Lindelof,
yeah.
like the Lindelof like we know, you know. And for Maguire, I feel he's been the best player. I mean, in the last 3-4 matches that he's played so far, he's been the United best player. You can make that argument. And at the moment, I don't really see anybody like sort of like displacing him or getting him out of the squad as far as like the centre half role is concerned, you know. So rightly so, he has really earned his place in the side. It's unfortunate that the City game is coming up, and then maybe, just maybe, he might be exposed. But I'm just hoping that that's not the case for him. But I feel he has a lot to offer, you know. He wasn't a bad defender anyway. He just, like, United had a lot of changes at a point, different managers, different systems, different needs that he had to accommodate. Being a captain too, I mean, everything will be, if things don't go right, they have to put it on him and all that. He's basically the easiest person to pick on, sort of. Like he's always made a scapegoat.
But has it not also helped his critics with really some of the displays and some of the errors and things?
Well, what it is, I believe, is Maguire, I think he has a really strong mentality.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
You look at, he's been in a relegation battle before.
Yeah.
He's played for a team that just won the league, comes into the team and they struggle. And he's just taken so much criticism over in the last couple of years in his career. So looking at where he's come from, he's dealt with it and he's proven himself. To come from Hull City to playing for England in the Euros final, going all the way to World Cup semi-finals and whatnot, I think he's shown that he's got a strong mentality.
Okay, we'll see how it plays out for Harry Maguire. The next test for him and Manchester United, like we've said, is the Manchester derby against the mighty Manchester City at Old Trafford on Sunday. All right, let's move on to the next part of the show, which is the last part. Let's get into the FPL zone. Welcome back. This is the Premier League preview show. Let's get into the FPL zone. And Edwin Kwakofi is joining me yet again. Edwin, how are you doing?
I'm good. How about you, Nathan?
I'm all right. Ahead of a very interesting weekend, who should we have in our teams?
Look, for anyone who's listening to me, if these three players I'm going to mention don't get you a combined tally of at least 30 points this weekend, I have failed.
Hey!
Just consider me a failure this weekend. So, yeah, my first is Martin Odegaard.
Martin Odegaard, Arsenal captain.
Arsenal are facing Sheffield United this weekend.
Okay.
And Sheffield United are the Premier League's highest conceders. They've conceded 24 goals. Coming up against Arsenal at the Emirates, you don't expect too much of them. Martin Odegaard everything that Arsenal do goes through him. He takes the corners, sometimes takes free kicks, and he might be on penalties as well. He seems to be sharing that duty with Bukayo Saka this season. So he is definitely my pick. You could go for Saka or Martinelli, but if you want maximum points this weekend, Martin Odegaard is the pick.
All right, Martin Odegaard, our first pick. Who are we picking as our second?
Look, our second pick, and he might not scream FPL assets, but Raheem Sterling.
Raheem Sterling?
Yes.
I see.
Chelsea up against Brentford. He is one that you need to look at. Chelsea recently are scoring goals. 3 against Fulham, 4 against Burnley, 2 against Arsenal. Sterling might have only provided points in that second game against Burnley, but he is very crucial to the way Chelsea are playing. And he seems to be playing a little more freely these couple of weeks under Pochettino, with Cole Palmer around him, Mykhailo Mudryk around him. He seems to have that freedom, and he's getting into the box a lot more. So look at Sterling as an FPL asset this weekend.
I see. And who's our final pick for the weekend?
Final pick is probably the most obvious, Ollie Watkins.
Ollie Watkins.
Ollie Watkins has had a fantastic season so far.
Yes.
5 goals, 5 assists so far this season. He is in fantastic form. And they are facing Luton, who have conceded 17 goals this season. They are the Premier League's whipping boys. So you go into games against them and you know you are going to get goals. Oli Watkins has been getting more goals for Villa than anyone else. Diaby is a second choice, but Watkins gets you goals, gets you assists as well. And bonus points are almost a guarantee with him in the team. So those are the three players who will guarantee you Premier League FPL success this weekend.
I see. So Martin Odegaard, Raheem Sterling, and Oli Watkins. Wow. And you are at least 30 points.
At least 30 points. So I'm guaranteeing 10 points from each of those players. But if I look at it and you ask me to predict how many points we're going to get, 50.
Wow.
From these three players.
I see. Edwin, thank you so much. So you heard it, Martin Odegaard, Raheem Sterling, Oli Watkins, the players you should have in your FPL team if you want to hit it big in terms of points this weekend. All right, that's our show for today. Many thanks for watching. Before we go, though, let's have a final look at the fixtures for match week 10 of the Premier League. If we could get the fixtures for match week 10 of the Premier League, so we can run through them quickly before we sign out of the studio. It's another exciting weekend. There you have it. Match week 10. Palace and Spurs, Chelsea, Brentford, Arsenal, Sheffield, Bournemouth, Burnley, Wolves, Newcastle, West Ham, Everton, Villa, Luton, Brighton, Fulham, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, and Man United, Man City. Edwin, I don't know which of these games tickle your fancy. Maybe you could give us a few predictions.
Look, I'm looking at the Chelsea-Brentford game. I'm looking at a high-scoring game. I think it might be 3-1 to Chelsea.
3-1 to Chelsea.
The Manchester derby is very interesting to me. United
score like 10.
United have not been very strong at Old Trafford this season, and City want to prove something. They've not been at their best. I think this is the weekend where they make a statement. I'm looking at City to win at least two clear goals.
2 clear goals.
Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, that's going to be a high-scoring one. 5-0 for Liverpool.
5-0 for Liverpool. That's a bold one.
Liverpool.
That's a bold one. That's a bold one. Alrighty, so those are Edwin's predictions as we wrap it up here on the Premier League Preview Show. Many thanks for watching. My name is Nathan Kwal. Edwin Kwakofi just finished off his segment earlier. You heard from Emmanuel Buduano and Iya Frimpong. Remember, the games are live on Citi 97.3 FM, so tune in over the weekend and enjoy great commentary on radio, and of course, all the highlights, chit-chat will be on Scorecard on Sunday night. We'll catch you next Friday with another exciting episode of the Premier League Preview Show on Citi TV. Have a super weekend. We'll catch you later.